When it comes to X-Men 97, one question I'm sure a lot of fans, old and new, have is why does it have a TV-14 rating? Well, quite simple. It's because of the fact that when you get down to it, X-Men 97 is not just meant as a continuation of the original series and a way to bring in some of the newer viewers that have basically grown up and been born since that time frame, but also it's for the original viewers, the ones that grew up watching this original series on Saturday mornings on Fox from 1992 to 1997. And because of that, pretty much the people behind it realized that if you're going to bring this show back, specifically on a streaming platform where the limitations of network television are non-existent to an extent, then you have the opportunity to kind of push the envelope a little further. Do things that you couldn't do on Saturday mornings. And that's kind of what we're seeing here. They're basically pushing the envelope, with what, they could do with the X-Men franchise more so than they could with the original run between 92 and 97. Yes, you did have violence. Yes, you did have some blood and some death and all that. Don't get me wrong. But it wasn't to the extreme that basically X-Men 97 has been basically reviewed as in its first 2 to 3 episodes. And what I mean by first 2 to 3 is some people like Black Nerd Comedies, Andre Meadows, and Joe Vargas of the Angry Joe Show, them and their crews, if you will, or individually, have gained access or been given access by Disney to watch the 3rd episode along with the first 2. But be that as it may, it has proven, even to those that got access to watch the first 3 episodes, it has basically proven that it is indeed a more mature story, a more mature setting than the original would let it be back in the day. And again, that's saying something. Because some of the stories they did do, whether they were adaptions, fillers, original, you name it, some of the stories were pretty mature. But, there were certain aspects of those stories that they couldn't fully, I guess you could say, see to fruition, help become a reality because of the restrictions they had to follow. So, here with the soft continuation, the sequel, if you will, of the original series, they're able to do a lot more. And that's a good thing. You're able to have more mature dialogue. You're able to tackle issues that they couldn't tackle beforehand. I mean, think about what's going on right now in the first 3 episodes when it comes to Jean Grey and, a little bit of spoiler, the Madeline Pryor situation. Think about that scenario and how it's going to be pretty much wrapped up for the time being in the 3rd episode. There is no way whatsoever that in the original run they'd been able to do that. They would not be able to basically tell that kind of a story because Fox and the network Saturday morning censors would basically axe it. They would basically axe that like axing down a tree, or it could even see the light of day. That's where you're seeing that story arc, along with what's going on with Storm. You're seeing titles like Life, Death, and Tolerance by Extinction, coming into being with this soft continuation known as 97, because it's something that back then in the early to mid 90s they couldn't do. They couldn't do what they want to do here back then. That's why, here you're getting a TV-14 rated product. You're getting something that's not only targeting the audience that grew up with the original, but you're also basically saying that at the same time, I should say, that you're going to be able to, see a lot more than what you had been able to see in the original run. And for any generations that grew up watching the original run, whether it was on Toon Disney or it was on Disney or, basically through Disney Plus or through the home video releases that they have, DVD or VHS, a lot of the newer generations that saw the series through those means, they also kind of understand that, hey, this is a more mature take now because, basically learning, that the original was on network television, them seeing it themselves nowadays with some of their shows through cable television, they're realizing that, oh yeah, there are limitations that even today on networks like Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, and so on, there are certain elements that have to be followed. There are certain, moments, certain things, that have to be adhered to and not broken. So they kind of, so even the newer generation that, like I said, watched the original series through these various other formats are seeing basically now, why X-Men 97, is being presented in the manner that it's being presented, why it's got that TV-14 rating. It's the same with any other series that's pretty much being considered and talked about for a return, whether it's a straight-up reboot, continuation, you name it. It's pretty much the same way with them. You know that the rating, to an extent, is going to go up. Like with Sonic Sat-AM, Team Season is working on trying to get the pilot up and going for that third season to try to get that a reality itself, or made into a reality itself, I should say. But here's the thing. Would they keep it the TV-7 rating that it's known to have, thanks to the outlets like YouTube, Paramount, you name it, or being, something that's pretty much fan-funded, crowd-funded, basically really gaining a lot of momentum, would it actually go up to being a TV PG product? Maybe TV-14, we don't know. Because that's the question, we don't know, but that's the question I'm trying to say that a lot of us are hoping to have answered down the line. But if it's meant to continue the original series, in its own right, by giving us this final season that was never given to us in the first place, and it's being done by fans that grew up on the show, for the fans that grew up on the show, being supported by fans that grew up on the show, and even the newer generation of fans, then there's no doubt in my mind that the people behind, season 3, Team Season, I have no doubt in my mind that Team Season is going to try to aim for a TV PG rating. Maybe even TV-14, but mostly TV PG. I could see that. Just based off a lot of the WIPs, the showcasing and stuff, through the animatics and everything there, there's no doubt they're trying to aim for that, for that rating, in my opinion, or at least that would be the goal. Because here they could tell more mature stories based on the works of the late Ben Hurst on what he originally planned to do for that third season, had he gotten the opportunity to conclude the show, in some way. Now, could they push the envelope and try to go for TV-14? Absolutely. Absolutely, they could. But I think, honestly, the best option for them will be TV PG. And if it's at the end of the day, if it proves to be a success, then maybe not only will they be able to continue it on, maybe with a bigger budget, but they might also be able to, help the continuation of the third season be more TV-14. But that's neither here nor there right now. What I'm getting at, basically using it as an example, is that's obviously the direction, rating-wise, that they'd want to accomplish with, the third season, mostly with the pilot. And it's the same in any other show. Like if Biker Mice from Mars came back and it was given a streaming platform to be on, you can't tell me that the all-new animated show or reboot or whatever it's going to be, soft continuation, you can't tell me they wouldn't try to give that a TV-14 rating. They would, The same with, let's say SWAT Cats. If SWAT Cats made a return, they'd probably do the same thing. You get what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying? Long story short, ladies and gentlemen, is the reason for, X-Men 97 getting a TV-14 rating is the same reason for any nostalgic show from the 80s and 90s and even 2000s that's getting a continuation to some extent. And that reason being is it's not just for the newer generation who's actually watched the show and through other various forms of media, but it's also mainly for the fans that grew up on it originally. Because now they've grown up, so the show itself has to be grown up. And again, the same could be said for other shows that are possibly, on the verge of making a comeback, either as straight up reboots or soft continuations. So that's why it's got a TV-14 rating, in my opinion. But let me know what your thoughts are. Comment down below. Live chat if you're watching on YouTube. Let me know how you feel about X-Men 97. X-Men 97 having a TV-14 rating. Let me know what your thoughts are on other potential shows making a comeback in some way. Probably getting a rating that's more mature than its original. And let me know. And until then, guys, support the channel, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and until then, I'm out.